Howdy, partner.
Howdy, what's happening?
Not great.
Not great.
Yeah, the vibe. I think the vibes are not great today.
I hear you.
Obviously,
I gotta get my car towed today.
yeah, that really sucks.
Yeah.
Obviously the Bill Russell stuff. It's just like
Yeah, that's the big news for today.
I was just talking about him with my dad too yesterday. Just talking about like I can't remember where I saw the video and Matt didn't save it, but there was a video of him, dude, just going up, grabbing a board on defense, coming down, outrunning everyone on the court, and then just dunking it.
Nice.
It's just like he was just such a better athlete than like anyone he played against. It was crazy. But
Yeah, big news of the day. Rest in peace to Bill Russell, 88 years old, 11-time champ. He and some of his Celtics teammates the most championships in NBA history, correct?
Yeah, I mean he had the 11. He had I think it was 11 and it was 8 straight. I think it was 11 and 12 years or something like that. 11 and 13 years.
11 and 13, I think.
11 and 13. But yeah, obviously the ultimate winner. Probably would have had several, probably like close to a dozen Defense Player of the Year awards if that was a thing during his time.
Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to say about him? Because I pulled some stories about him that I wanted to kind of read off.
No, I figured we would I have some things here too, but I figured we'd just do a little Bill Russell reminisce, a little story time to do the day. I mean, it's the should be about him today, you know?
Yeah. So first off, like you said, 11-time champ, Hall of Famer, 5-time MVP, 11-time All-NBA, averaged 15, 22.5, and 4.3 for his career. Finals MVP awards named after him, was on the 25th, 50th, and 75th NBA all-time team. This is from Wikipedia, so I'm not sure if this is 100% true. I didn't really fact check it. First African-American head coach in Northern American pro sports.
That's fact check correct.
As well as the first to win a championship. He did that as a player coach, I believe.
Yes.
2-time NCAA champion while he was at University of San Francisco. Was the 7th. He also did track and field while at San Francisco. Was the 7th best high jumper in the world while in college. Actually, he tied for, I believe, first in nationals, and the guy he tied with wound up winning gold at that next Olympics. So just an incredible athlete overall.
Gold medalist, captain of the what year was it? The
1956.
56 Olympics. Yeah, captain of the gold medal.
I was like so confused when I was looking at it. I was like, how is he only a one-time Olympian? Then I completely forgot that before the dream team, guys weren't allowed to play when they were professionals.
Right.
But no. Some other stories, obviously, he had a huge impact on civil rights. The reason why he came to Boston was kind of the forward thinking of both Red Auerbach and I believe, I want to say, what was his name? Was it Sanders? I can't remember the owner of the name, but they basically got Bill Russell they got Ed McCauley, who's a really good center, and I can't think of Cliff Hagan, maybe was the other player they traded for him. But really, the only reason St. Louis did that deal is because they just didn't really want a black player on their team.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of paved the way for him to be a Celtic. Russell was credited for the first boycott of an NBA game as a demonstration against racist behavior, and I believe it was Lexington or in St. Louis. I think it was in Lexington. They were playing the Hawks. I feel like it was something to do with Kentucky. But either way, I guess it was his black teammates were being treated poorly. They were refused service. So they're playing the Hawks. So wherever they refused service. Him and I believe 4 other Celtics players, along with 2 players from the Hawks, all boycotted that game, which was the first instance of I believe boycotting any sporting event, any professional sporting event. All the players did wind up playing that day. It was just only the white players for the teams.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those guys are with them. So it was Thomas, Sash Sanders, and Sam Jones. Oh, yeah, it was in Lexington. So they refused service at a coffee shop at their team hotel. They said they can't serve people like that. That's a quote from, or can't serve people like you, or don't serve people like you. And that was a quote from Thomas Sanders, Satch Sanders. As well as that, Russell, so Russell wound up Casey Jones as well. A rookie on their team also decided to boycott as well. Red tried to convince them to reconsider. They said Red was like, "Oh, you guys can be my guests for a private dinner." They said no. They wanted to make a stand about this unfair treatment. Their owner actually had their back, which was, something that you don't really it's kind of surprising to see at that time. He said that not only did he support them boycotting it, but the game shouldn't have been played in general, and it's unacceptable to refuse that service, or unacceptable that that's happening to these professional players. I believe the player even spoke out from the St. Louis Hawks team, a white player, saying that basically any person with a brain shouldn't be a segregationist. So that was a big moment for civil rights in general, as well as just the civil rights in the sports world. Where's the next one? In 1963, civil rights leader Medgar Evers was murdered in the driveway of a Ku Klux Klan member. Russell flew to Mississippi with the help of Evers' brother, Charles. He ran an integrated basketball camp at a local playground. A few months later, Russell advocated for support around the Boston public school boycott to protest de facto segregation. It was a very sensitive topic that pushed Russell to the face of many insults, harassments, and vandalism. One incident was so revolting and shameful that permanently kind of tainted his relationship with Boston. Someone broke into his house, literally just like smeared shit all over his like walls and bed and all that stuff.
Lovely.
Just some of the stuff he was able to go through. It's like incredible that he was able to do this and just continued to fight his fight despite like all the backlash and all the shit that was happening to him.
On top of playing a 15, 22, and 4 career.
Yeah, being like,
a top 10 player in the entire history.
I consider him and Wilt like the first generation of superstars. Like, you might be able to put some other guys in there, but those are the guys that stand above and beyond, like just what they're able to do. Like, you say Wilt with the statistical numbers and Russell with leading the championships.
Yeah.
Those two guys are like the first face of basketball, the first
Absolutely.
real superstars of basketball. In 1967, Muhammad Ali was facing charges refusing to service in Vietnam. So they had a meeting, a bunch of prominent black athletes and just black leaders in general, called this meeting with Summit, meeting in Cleveland with Ali. Russell actually called up a guy by the name of Lou Alcindor. Obviously, that's Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Sig Part. They tried to have Ali avoid the charges by basically putting on benefit fights for the soldiers and to have him avoid these charges. Ali wanted to stand put and say that was wrong. The guy supported him. There's a very cool picture of all of them together.
There's a film about that, correct? There's a film. It's called like One Night in something or something along that lines. I believe there's a film about the meeting.
It was One Night in Miami. I didn't know that was about that.
I think it is. Let me just do a quick little check.
Yeah, so it was a photo of 11 men. Had some very famous athletes. I believe Jim Brown was there as well. Just name some of them while you're looking that up.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Russell also marched with Martin Luther King Jr. on the day that he gave his speech. He was in the very front. He was in the front row on the "I Have a Dream" speech. And the last one, not so much civil rights, but more player empowerment and just player rights, like rights of the professionals. Of the 20, there's a NBA All-Star game in 1964. Of the 20 players that played, it was at the Boston Gardens. It was a home game for Bill Russell. I believe he had a few other teammates, 13 of which are Hall of Famers. They list Oscar Robertson, Bill Russell, Jerry Lucas, Heinsohn, Sam Jones, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, just to name a few, and Red Auerbach was the coach. They decided, I believe, 15 minutes prior to tip-off that they had a vote that like they just need more rights. They were looking for bigger pensions, a bunch of other things like goes kind of going towards what the CBA is like now. And they won by a vote of 11-9. The players voted in favor of striking the game, and they were able to come to a agreement, and they agreed to their pension demands. It was considered the biggest victory by the players' union in like modern, at least modern NBA history.
Okay.
The first big like breakthrough through union talk. So he just did just so much. His impact, like I said, civil rights, as well as just like player empowerment and just impact on the game, like just changing the game, like making the game. Because like guys like him, like they weren't making real money. I mean, guys weren't really making real money even until like the 80s.
Right.
So he obviously made a huge difference. Obviously he's a statue outside in Boston. Just a legendary figure, one of the greatest players of all time.
Absolutely. And there were just in between what you were saying. 1964, he was a member of the first all-black starting lineup in the NBA, and then 2 years later, he took the job from Red Auerbach, one of the greatest basketball coaches ever. And then 2 years later, the first black coach to win an NBA championship. I mean, that's all. That the ability to, or I mean, just like the upward movement that he allowed for black basketball players, even in that span of 5 or 6 years, just showed his impact on the way he wanted to play the game and the way he was respected in the basketball community.
Yeah. You actually remember something else. He's also part of the first D1 collegiate team to have 3 black starters. It was him, Sam Jones. I can't think of the third one. Another guy I believe was an NBA starter, or an NBA player with a long career. But so he obviously had a huge impact. He was part of a lot of very big moments. I think there's a prompt given to us, like one of our professional development days, being like, if you could have a conversation with anyone dead or alive, who would you pick? My instant thought, I went to 2 guys, and it was Bill Russell and Kareem, because of like some of the stuff we mentioned. They're intertwined in a lot of this stuff. I think I did lean Kareem because I think he kind of had a little bit, maybe more, I would consider more fun of a life. He kind of got to do some of the acting stuff, but a lot of that was set up because of what Bill Russell did.
Of course. And just to clarify, that one night in Miami was Jim Brown, not Bill Russell.
Yeah. I thought it was like a Muhammad Ali thing. I didn't realize
it was Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Jim Brown, and Kareem.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, Bill Russell's right in there with those leaders in the African American athlete community. But just like his life is like one of those where I feel like he and Kareem, like I just think that you could just listen to them talk, listen to their stories, and I just think it'd be the most interesting thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Obviously, Celtics legend. Yeah. I mean, with him and Tommy, it's just like I think those are some of the biggest. I think Bill Russell is like honestly like Mr. Celtic. I don't think there's a bigger figure in Celtics history than Bill Russell. So it's gonna be sad to see him go. There's nothing like him.
No, he is certainly on that Celtics Mount Rushmore. I mean, who else would you do?
I think Bird would be on there, and then I think maybe one of the other old guys like Kuzi or a Havlicek.
I would think it's Bill. I mean, could you put the coach? Could you put Red on there?
I mean, Red did do a lot. Like he was the one that I believe he was the GM when they drafted Larry Bird.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I just think I think the 2 guarantees, you're going with Bill and you're going with Larry. And I think after that, it's kind of who you choose. I think probably most older people would want to select someone from those teams alongside Bill, because he obviously had a lot of incredible teammates during those runs. But
then kids our age would pick Paul Pierce.
Probably Paul Pierce would be on. He was one I was thinking of. I mean, he won 1 championship as opposed to those guys that have double-digit championships. It's kind of tough when. Yeah. But importance is,
I
He
hear
was
you.
in the league back then, but
Yeah,
he had a very Paul Pierce had very great importance individually to what we saw growing up, and still to lead us to a championship. But
definitely. So sad day overall. Do you want to do any Jaylen Brown talk?
yeah, I think we should discuss Jaylen Brown. That's something that happened, I believe, on Monday, of course, like Monday morning, Sunday night. I don't know. I woke up to the news.
Me too.
So it was like wonderful. We couldn't have got that in last week, but yeah, Jaylen Brown. I believe Shams and Woj both reported that Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first-round pick were poised to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for Kevin Durant.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the Nets said no, and they wanted Marcus Smart and maybe an additional pick, or
Multiple picks.
yeah, they wanted multiple picks, or they wanted Robert Williams,
Mm-hmm.
which is just like what's the point? Like I get how good Kevin Durant is. I understand that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like his durability is a question. Obviously, his talent's not a question.
His
But
age
he's
is
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's gonna be any better than what he was last season. I think you're gonna likely start to see a downward trend soon. I mean, it's so tough because like we're used to players starting to fall off at that age. Like players are supposed to fall off around that. I mean, you've seen Melo, you've seen kind of Allen Iverson, Kobe's decline around that age.
Yeah.
It's just like we see LeBron and like we forget that sometimes that guys that are 38 aren't supposed to still be doing the same stuff they were doing when they were 27.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's gonna be a serious thing. Like we don't know, and Kevin Durant hasn't been like super durable over the past couple of years. I don't really love it.
The durability is a question, but it's also we are seeing more guys playing later into their careers. I mean, Kevin Durant is not an insanely physical basketball player, so he may have 3-4 years left in the tank, but Jaylen Brown has that plus 10,
Yeah. Like I'm saying, like you have a slim, like I think it's really a 2-year window with that team.
Yeah.
Which like I think it might raise your ceiling, but not if you're giving up like guys like Robert Williams, because if you give up like a guy like him or even like Marcus Smart, like I think that really hurts what they can do even with Kevin Durant, because then you become so thin, you rely so heavily on those guys. I mean, we saw it this year. Like a lot of our guys kind of started to get burnt out. It looked like towards the end of the finals because they just been playing so many minutes because we didn't have that depth. Now we finally have that depth, and they're willing to give it all away. Like if Al goes down, this team has no chance of winning. Like if you lose like one more piece, even with Kevin Durant, Jason Tatum, like you're not going to beat the Bucks. Like it just doesn't seem worth it to me for that deal. I think Jaylen Brown has also improved pretty much every single season he's been in the league.
He has, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's been the thing maybe from his second to his third year, a drop off, but that was that Kyrie, Rozier, Marcus Morris year where the whole team just didn't mesh.
I still miss Marcus Morris, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, but it's just one of those things. There's too many cooks in the kitchen, and that's in that situation.
Yeah.
And that was really the only year that Jaylen, I feel like, didn't take a jump from one year to the next, even if it's a small one.
Yeah. And then the next year he was averaging 16, and then the following year, last year, not this one, but he was an all-star. 2021.
Yeah, he was an all-star not this past year, but the year before that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I think especially with them making a finals run, unless they get off to just a horrendous appearance, I would think that just based off of kind of what they did this year alone, it would already kind of put them. It would already kind of put him into that all-star conversation, just because I mean, a team coming off a finals run, if they come out and they're like a top 2 or 3 seed, like he's just going to get, like that's just how it works.
Yeah.
It's not saying that maybe there's other guys that are going to put better stats. I mean, his points per game were down from last year. His effective field goal percentage was down from last year, but he did average a slight uptick in assists, slight uptick in rebounds per game. Turnovers stayed the same. I'm trying to think what else. 3-point percentage dip, but it seemed like everyone kind of. I mean, I do think he played better. I think his defense obviously was, and that a lot of that could have been. Some of that could have been a product of just how the team was playing, but I thought he played better defense than he did the previous year. And it wasn't like he had huge drop-offs in any stats. Like, they're all pretty neck and neck.
Yeah.
So maybe you could say he didn't take a leap from one year to the next, but I think also he had a different role. I think he excelled in the role that he did have. And I think that going forward this year, I wouldn't be surprised if he takes another leap. I wouldn't be surprised if he has another 24 points. I think his passing started to look better towards the end of last year. I think maybe limit the turnovers a little bit more. Get a little bit better handle. Maybe shoot a little bit more efficiently. I think this was kind of a not a fluky 3-point year, but this was one of his not. He had been trending in the right direction. He shot 38% 2 years ago. 3 years ago, he shot 38%. Last year, he almost shot, or 2 years ago, was 39.7. And this past year, he was only 35.8. So I would expect to see him back over probably closer to 37.
Yeah. But you're bringing up the decline in shooting numbers and effective field goal percentage. But I mean, the eye test was when Jaylen Brown shot the ball, it was going to go in. There were.
Yeah, I mean, how many weird because he was incredible to start the year from mid range.
Yeah.
Then we obviously had a big fall off, and it feels like December with like all of our guys. He started the year with COVID, right? He was and he was kind of came up firing, but I don't know. It just seemed like a lot of times our offense really struggled to create anything, and a lot of times he was left to try and create his own shot early on in the season. I do think as the year went on, I think he looked just better and better, as did the rest of the team. And yeah, like you said, like I think eye test towards the end of the year, I think it's pretty clear that he's a guy that looks like a guy that's going to be a perennial all-star.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to move on from him.
No, I wouldn't either. I mean, we see it popping up everywhere. It's don't trade Jaylen. It's at the Celtics. I mean, it's at the Red Sox games. It's all over Twitter. No one wants it. It's just the media pushing that narrative, But I honestly think that Windhorse put this out. Windhorse was the one that corroborated the fact that it was a previous trade option.
Yeah, it was
it wasn't that Sunday night that offer was submitted.
No, it was like the first week of July or something like that.
Yeah, so he was just peddling a narrative 4 weeks later. And honestly, I think it was to keep KD in the news cycle. I mean, KD is a top 5 player in the NBA and is going to whoever takes him on is going to, if he does get traded, is the package is going to be insane. It's going to be so monstrous. And I think that
but that's where I think the Nets are making, like, you can't ask for like fair value because if any team, like no team is going to be able to trade for Kevin Durant and still be in a position where they can win a championship, because they're going to have to give away like their, at the very most, their second best player plus additional players plus additional picks. Like,
right.
You're put in a really shitty situation. Like, there's very few teams. I mean, Golden State's really the only one I can think of that if they can pull off this trade and really not lose a whole lot, because they have those down 1 or 2 years, or those that really just one down year.
Yeah.
And making that trade to acquire Wiggins, where they got that additional pick, like they have the young assets as well as having a guy like Andrew Wiggins, an all-star caliber player, to make that deal. Like very few teams, and that's I think the best you're going to get in a situation that really make them still contenders.
Exactly, and then it gets to the point where who would theoretically, what teams are capable of trading for Kevin Durant? In the first place, who have the talent, who have the bench players that Brooklyn would ask for, and who would be willing to mortgage the future expecting to win a championship. There are probably only 6 or 7 teams in the NBA that expect to win a championship in the next, like, do you want to go through it? Because I don't think, like, there's probably only 6 or 7 teams that in the next year think they can win a championship.
Oh, it's like it's the upcoming season. Yeah. I mean, the teams that I think in the East, you obviously go Milwaukee. I think Miami thinks they can, but I don't think Miami got better this year. I think Miami got worse this year.
Miami can't. So I don't
know who they even make. I don't think they made an acquisition this year other than just drafting like drafting guys and signing undrafted free agents. They lost PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't think they're really contenders. I think Toronto is interesting.
No.
I think they're probably still a piece away.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have Scotty Barnes. They have some younger guys too as well. I think Philly is definitely a contender. I think
Philly, Boston,
and then Milwaukee
are the only 3 out of the East that can win a championship next year.
Yeah.
And then in the West, Golden State.
Golden State could easily repeat. What did you say was the second team?
Suns.
Yeah, I mean the Suns. I feel like have the Suns really done anything this year though? I mean I think all they did was they really just lost. They lost JaVale. Like I don't think they really improved. I guess I'd put them into the conversation because they've been to. Well, they didn't even go to the Western Conference Finals last year, but I guess I could still put them in the conversation.
They're a team that can win a championship. Golden State, Phoenix, and Denver, maybe.
I mean that obviously depends a lot on the health of Jamal Murray and like how Jamal and MPJ look coming back.
Yeah.
They're interesting one. I think the Timberwolves think they can be. I don't really think that. I think Rudy Gobert is going to be washed like off the court once again.
Yep.
The Grizzlies are an interesting one.
Yeah, I was going to say I think the Grizzlies are also in that think that they can win, but I don't think they can. They're a piece.
I think they got all the pieces though. It's just like I don't know. They're a weird one too. I don't think they're quite there yet. I just need to see it from them.
Yeah.
The Hawks are an interesting one too.
I was going to say the Hawks, but the Hawks are not going to be good.
Yeah, I just think that the whole situation with like John Collins is so weird. Like I think, and it's interesting to see like having a guy like DeJounte pairing up with a guy like Trey. I think it's just going to be an interesting combo.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch them. I don't think that they're going to be championship caliber. Same with the Mavericks. I don't think that they're going to be championship.
Yeah, that was one that came to my mind, and I was like, I don't know. Like I think they need a fundamental change in the way they play. Like I've just never seen outside LeBron a team be so reliant on one player and win a championship. Like I've never seen it. Like even in the Kobe years where you say Kobe's taking all the shots, like Kobe wasn't doing like all the playmaking. Like he usually had a competent point guard like Derek Fisher who had the ball in his hands a lot. Like Kobe didn't want to have to do everything.
Right. But Luka's bringing the ball up every single possession.
He's also grabbing like 9 rebounds a game. Like he's doing a lot.
Yeah.
On the offensive side of the ball, and that just seems to never work when your whole team is just based around one guy doing everything.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. Like there are maybe 7 teams in contention,
and they lost Jalen Brunson too.
And they did, yeah. They lost the only other ball handler on that team.
Yeah.
So we had 3 in the East and 4 in the West.
I mean, I consider Denver like Jokic is going to be good enough, and we're assuming that Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray, at least by playoff times, are going to be back to like 100% of what they were.
Yeah.
So I think it's the assumption of that one. So really 2 to 3 teams, like 5 teams total.
Yeah.
I think any other team winning championship next year would be very surprising.
Agreed. So what teams in that peripheral zone we just talked about, A, have the assets, and B, have the inclination to mortgage their future for the opportunity to win a championship in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think a package around Tyler Hero is going to do it. I don't think they're able to trade Bam because of the like rookie max thing.
Yes.
And I just don't think Brooklyn would see worth it. We talked about Atlanta. I think Atlanta, if they want to trade John Collins, throwing a ton of picks, they got some other young guys that at least are interesting.
Bogey and Herder. No, Herder went to Sacramento. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I was thinking like even a Kongwu and like, what's his name? The guy that I really liked last year, the guy at a Duke. He played like 2 games. Jalen Johnson?
Jalen Green.
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson. Yeah, Jalen Johnson.
I mean, they're interesting.
Yeah.
We talked about where are some other teams we just talked about. I don't think Minnesota could do it. No. I mean, they could. They could. They have the pieces, but I don't think they'd be willing to give up a guy like Ant to get him.
Or D'Angelo Russell and whatever.
They need D'Angelo, and I don't think anything else is even worth it on their roster past D'Angelo. Right. Like D'Angelo, I don't think is even really a hot commodity at this point.
Someone we haven't said is the Jazz, but the Jazz don't have anybody to trade except for picks.
They have Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, but then why would they trade Donovan Mitchell for Kevin Durant?
Yeah, because then I guess you're right. I was like, well, that would work.
Yeah, no,
I forgot in my head they had the 3-way trade. I still had my 3-way trade of the Phoenix to. Did we talk about that one where I was like, send KD to Phoenix, send Ayton to Utah, send Mitchell to New York or Brooklyn.
Yeah.
But,
so we didn't even bring up the Jazz. The Jazz suck.
The Grizzlies, I mean, if they want to make a package around Jaren Jackson Jr.
Yeah. But
Desmond Bane.
But Jaren Jackson, and I mean, you could throw in Dylan Brooks and
Desmond Bane and picks. Like, that might be something that's, like, somewhat interesting. I don't think that's really, like – I don't think those guys project to be all-stars, though. Like, I think you need to send an all-star and then some back, as we're seeing with the Jaylen Brown thing.
Yeah. But I don't think Memphis would do that either. Everybody in Memphis loves Jaren Jackson. Like, Jaren Jackson.
I think they'd be willing to – like, I think they'd be willing to trade him. He's I feel like, been very inconsistent with just being, like, injured.
But I don't know. All my Memphis buddies love him.
Yeah, I think he's a likable player. I just think his issue, like, I just think the team is just like his health isn't the biggest concern. I don't know if that's just a narrative I have, but I'm pretty sure it seems that he's a guy that misses a lot of games.
I think he missed like his second season.
Are there any other teams? I mean, the Suns still would be an interesting one. If they could trade, I mean, I don't think they'd want Chris Paul.
No.
And I don't think they're allowed. Yeah, I get. Yeah. June 30th, he had foot surgery. Recovery time 4 to 6 months.
Oh yeah, he's out for the first bit.
And he missed 78 games. He played 78 games this past year, but before that, he played 11 games, 57 games, 58 games. Which I don't know what. I think 66 was the one for 1920. I think 66 was the most they could have played.
No, 2021 would have been 66.
How many did they play in? But
2 years ago, it was 66.
Okay, but how many did they play in 1920?
1920?
Yeah, like 19.
I think 2019, 2020. I was like, what the fuck are you asking me for?
No, because that was the one where like the COVID season like first happened. Like COVID happened and they had to stop, and then they played the bubble.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but he's not super durable.
No. So
that's a concern, but I don't know. There's a lot. I think New Orleans is one that's very interesting.
I agree. Yeah.
Because they have Brandon Ingram. Like, I don't think they're sold on Brandon Ingram. Honestly, like, if Zion, I mean, I think he just signed that 4-year deal, didn't he? The 4-year max. So I guess there's no real point to sign him now. But I was going to say, if he was unhappy and wanted to trade, like, prior to signing that extension, I think that would have been a really interesting one. Just like that could have been a 1-for-1 swap.
So I wanted 2 picks or something.
I mean, honestly, like, I think if you're like willing to, if they're willing to trade Zion, and I mean, health aside, like, I think you're just gonna want Zion for KD straight up. But I mean, they have Brandon Ingram. They have some other guys that are very talented. Who else did they get in the CJ McCollum? Did they get someone else I liked? Right?
They got
Nasir Little.
Did they get Nasir Little?
Maybe, I don't know. Let me check out their roster real quick. But they're the only one that they're not really like one piece away, but they're still interesting to me.
Yeah, I honestly think New Orleans is one piece away. If they can keep Zion and Brandon Ingram, they have some good depth. Their bigs are good. I really like Jackson Hayes, but I think they are one piece away. If they could, but they can't move one of those pieces.
They got Larry Nance.
Larry Nance, yeah.
What else they got? Just looking at their list, I mean, they don't really have too many guys though that are I don't think would really. Herb Jones, I think Herb Jones could be an interesting piece.
They would do a trade. Like, do you think Brooklyn would want CJ McCollum? It would have to be a lot more, but
No, I don't think they want McCollum. I think they'd probably want. I think they probably want Brandon Ingram and then a guy like Herb Jones
or Jackson Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Jackson Hayes. He's kind of. I don't think he's kind of the guy. Not the guy, but I don't think he's kind of got the stock that he had maybe even like a year ago.
I think you're right, but I still like
Got some off the court stuff as well. And he just wasn't really. I don't know. Didn't have a super impressive season last year. He's been backing up Jonas Valanciunas. So
yeah.
But okay, well, I don't think there's really anything else to talk about. The Sixers might be in trouble for tampering, but they'll probably just lose like a second round pick, so that doesn't really matter too much.
Nope.
But
either way. Well,
okay.
Rest in peace to Bill Russell.
Yep. All right, Bill Russell. See you guys next week.
See ya.